All right, welcome to this step-by-step tutorial for option number 2, which is setting up an @Gmail. So we're going to go ahead and walk you through. If you're going through this training, that means that you have decided that you are going to proceed with option number 2. So you're going to go ahead and actually set up a Gmail account for your business. Remember, we've already gone ahead and explained what the difference between the options are. At this point, you should know which option you're going to go ahead and choose. So I'm not going to go through all of that again. So if you are in this training, that means you have decided not to proceed with option 1, and we are going to go ahead and walk you through setting up option 2. Now, if you decided to set up option 1 and you already set up option 1, obviously you're not going to do this. You're not going to do both option 1 and option 2. That's why they're options, right? So I hope that is obvious, okay? So we're going to go ahead and proceed with getting your @Gmail set up, okay, for your business. And what's going to happen is that it's going to be free. It's going to be simple and easy to set up, but I want you to make sure that you acknowledge that that does mean that there's going to be a little bit more setup later on when it comes to sending business emails, because we explained that, right? So yeah, the email providers do not like it when you're sending business emails through an @Gmail. And so what we're going to do is later on, we're going to go ahead and walk you through how to set up something called email rerouting and email forwarding. So that way you can actually go ahead and have this set up properly, okay? Versus if you actually decided you were going to proceed with option 1 would give you a business email off the bat. So you would have no need for that additional setup later on. And so, but again, the con of this one is that there's an additional cost, right? So the con of this other one that we're doing here is that yes, it's free, but there's additional setup and you don't get all of the business tools that you would get with a Google Workspace account. The pro of this one is that it's easy setup. The con is that it costs a little bit of money, right? So again, when we get to that training in the future, there's a little bit more setup for this one. Not a lot, a little bit more, and we'll walk you through that when we get there. Beautiful. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the actual step-by-step tutorial of creating your @Gmail email for your business. All right, so this is the cool part. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go over to google.com, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through this entire process as if you are within one existing Chrome profile, okay? But in the next step, we're going to walk you through Chrome profile. It's going to make a little bit more sense. But right now, I'm just going to walk you through how it's going to look as if you are in the same Chrome profile. If that doesn't make any sense to you, don't worry about it, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wherever you are on google.com or whatever, you're going to go ahead and if you already are logged into a Google account, you're going to click on that icon, you're going to click on add account. If you're not, all you're going to do is you're just going to go over to create Google account, right? And then you create a Google account right there. It's the first link. You're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and create a Google account to manage a business. And here we go. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, shows you that the system and the strategy that we have been teaching you is in alignment with the actual way that these software companies and Google and these bigger companies actually function. Because you'll see on here, it says, choose the email that is best for your business. Guess what? Option 1, free for 14 days and then monthly charge after trial, but you get a custom email and productivity features for your business, right? Guess what? That was option 1. And then option 2, which is the one that we're going through right now, which is at no cost. You get a Gmail address that is just for you, okay? And so you'll see on here, you get a professional email when you go with this route. But again, we've already gone ahead and talked about the cons of that, right? So this table that we've gone ahead and created right over here is pretty much the exact same table that Google is presenting you over here, right? So again, we are educators. We've been in this game for a long time. We've had hundreds and thousands of students go through our programs. And so that's the reason why we understand how to be able to teach this to you in a way that is strategic and in a way that is an actual system, okay? So in this case, what we're going to do is because you are proceeding with option 2, we're going to go ahead and click on get a Gmail address. Now, once you click on get a Gmail address, it's going to walk you through the entire process, right? So I'm going to go ahead and this is just an example. You're going to put your name and email address. From there, it's going to ask you for your birthday. So let's go ahead and jump. I'm just going to put a random kind of birthday on here, right? But again, in your case, obviously don't put a random birthday, right? We're going to go ahead and click on next from there. From there, it's going to ask us, hey, what is the username that we want to actually create here? Now, remember, you can't have support@gmail.com. Obviously, that's not going to work. That's not going to exist because this has to be your business email. And unfortunately, you've chosen option 2. So you're not going to have this on your actual business email, right? So what you got to do is you might decide to call this, let's say, Body Forge Support or something like that, right? Let's say the name of your company was NutriFit Wellness, right? So it'd be NutriFit Support, right? And now here's the thing. Sometimes you're going to find it. Sometimes you're not going to find it. In this case, you'll see it wasn't available. Now, for the purposes of business, I would recommend staying away from adding numbers and all that kind of stuff inside of the email address. And so I would just play around with the words. So if you want to go support NutriFit, maybe, let's say, for example, maybe that one is available. You see in that case, that one is not available either. Another one that I could try here might be NutriFit Team, right? So if I go NutriFit, let me if I can get the spelling right here, NutriFit Team. If I could try that, let's see if that works here. So NutriFit Team did not work either. I could try to flip it. So let's say, for example, I wanted to go the opposite way. I wanted to go to, let's say, Team NutriFit, and I go next from that. Now, see, this is the reason why sometimes the professional email is helpful, is because of the fact that how many people do you think have an @Gmail domain email? Like, I think at the point it's hundreds of millions of people. And so you might end up having to try and figure out which username is available versus if you do pay a little bit of money extra. And again, remember, that's not going to be your only business expenses, other business expenses that you got to make sure that you're allocating for, because there are other tools that you're going to need to run your business as well. But that's one of the reasons why is another pro to have it on your domain, because then you can just have straight up support at your domain and it's very easy. So you got to play around with this a little bit and see what is going to be the one that's available. Obviously, if I go like the full on NutriFit Wellness support, I think this one is probably going to be available. Oh, wow. Look at that. That's not even allowed either. So I had to play around with it a little bit. I did find that NutriFit Wellness Team was available. So again, you're going to have to play around with whatever you think might be the most professional, but just knowing that this is just kind of like the starter one for you to get started with, because long term, as you grow your business, you're not going to have this at Gmail, right? But it is good for when you get started, you're just kind of getting the ball rolling. Then, you got to figure out what's going to be the most professional for you. In this case, I found NutriFit Wellness Team. I'm going to go ahead and create that. So obviously it's going to be taken for anybody who wants to create this, but for you guys to be able to align this with your brand name. And that's the reason why we methodically had you do this in this exact order with finding your brand name earlier, right? So in this case, we're going to go over to next. From there, it's going to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and set up your password. So you're going to go ahead and set up your password, whatever that's going to be, okay? Then you're going to click on next from there. And then it's going to go ahead and actually verify your phone number, just so that way it makes sure that you are not a robot. So I'm going to go ahead and do that very quickly. And then I'll go ahead and see you on the next screen here. Now, in my case, it looks like I am out of luck here, because as I'm recording this, we've basically used the phone number that I use to set up test accounts and demo accounts. We've used it too many times. And so what we're going to have to do is I'm going to go ahead and have to go out and find either a spouse or a family member to go ahead and help me with this verification. But the point being is that once you get to and through this verification, you go to next. And then once you're there, you're going to basically have your account created. And it's going to function just like a normal Google account, Gmail account is going to work. So you can go ahead and log in accordingly. Now, as we go through this process, of course, on YouTube, there's going to be more tutorials if you needed them to be able to walk you through this. Because the key is that if something is not exactly the way that we've shown it inside of this training, well, guess what? You can be resourceful and you can actually go out there and, I'm sure there's some amazing high quality production videos that are out there in terms of how to actually create a Google account or how to create a Gmail account, right? And obviously, this is a community. So if you do find that you are struggling with something, make sure you do reach out. I know I unfortunately wasn't able to go ahead and proceed past this part for this specific training, but this is very, very, very basic ABCs of how to be able to run a computer, which is how to set up a Google account or a Gmail account. So you should be able to just go ahead and enter in your phone number and then click next, and then that's pretty much it. You're good to go, and then you can just log in to your Gmail account. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the actual step-by-step of option number 2, which is setting up your professional business email account, but going with option 2, which is having the @gmail.com account. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is, next step, we're going to walk you through how to set up Google Chrome profiles. So that way you can make sure that you're keeping everything nice and organized between your personal life and your work life. So with that being said, we will catch you in the next training.